share a bit of our journey, and I will talk a bit about Beca as well to give you the context that I think is important for us to have here. But before that, and I need to move you guys to somewhere else. Yeah. I'm going to talk about myself. I'm just checking. Can you see the presentation all right? Cool. Awesome. So I'm Bela the class. I'm Enterprise Agile Coach and Practice Lead here at Beca. I'm based in Auckland, and you might have already noticed the accent. So I'm originally from Brazil, but I have been in New Zealand for over 2 decades. And I've had a varied career. I started in television and film, then moved on to technology, enterprise sales, doing solution sales, and then to marketing, and then to coaching. And with all of this career changes, I can safely say that moving into coaching was by far the hardest one, hardest shift that I've done. I won't go into the detail here, but always happy to have a coffee and share my journey, but hence the squiggly line. So I've gone up and down and around, and I've had many insights along the way, and I was able to improve and really test my resilience there. And together with my personal journey, I actually realized that I'm in fact quite resilient. Life has given me many opportunities to test that, and I actively work on it, so I don't take it for granted, because I know often I'm going to need it. And so I know I can be, I can be ready to use and tap into it. I told Maria that I wasn't actually going to spend ages on myself, but then I realized I kind of needed to give you context of who I am and why would you listen to me. So I don't have all the answers. I do have a lot of opinions about almost everything, but I don't have all the answers. And I'm quite happy to work and live in the gray and being uncomfortable. And when I put living in the gray, I mean uncertainty, definitely not lack of color, because my life is pretty colorful. And I started at Beca about 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago. And I have previously I worked at Spark, doing transformations here at Spark, a telco in New Zealand, and ASB Bank, obviously a bank in New Zealand. And those were 2 large transformations by New Zealand standards. So through those 2 experiences, I learned a lot and got to experience not only that crazy excitement, gearing up for a large transformation, all the crazy 500 people boot camps, millions of pieces of Lego everywhere, making up stuff as we went along, but also the adoption, the embedding of that change, that after all that buzz, and now this is real, let's create your backlog, let's look and change your behaviors in the culture. And they were both amazing and exhausting experiences. And I made beautiful friends, experienced life-changing relationships, and helped a lot of people to grow and to work in a different way. And people told me so. But I also learned to be arrogant in my expectation of changing people, sometimes a bit dogmatic, maybe. And at that point, after a few years, I had a moment of insight, that aha moment that you have. And that created discomfort. It didn't sit well. I was thinking, could I have done harm? Could I have done this in a different way? What else is there? I could see some awesome benefits from the approach that we had, but also some downsides, and they didn't sit well with me at that point. I was curious about something else. So when this opportunity came up to bring agility to Beca in a different way, I had to take it and challenge myself. I saw that as a golden opportunity to kind of pave the way to a different approach. That and my awesome manager, who's very good at selling the dream, his dream, and now allowing me to really run with it, full trust and space. And I'm really grateful for that. Hi, Greg. Sorry. Today we're going to touch on a few things. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Beca, why the change, our strategy, our approach, the results so far, and what we see, what the future might look like for us. Hopefully you're looking at the map and going, or hopefully not, but I imagine you're looking at the map and going, wow, that's quite a lot. So Beca is partly employee owned, and I think that's a really important piece of the information here. We are one of the largest and most diverse professional consultancy services company in the Asia Pacific. We assist clients across many markets, including industrial, power, buildings, government, transport, and water, and many more. As well as engineering consultancy, we provide project services from concept to delivery, including project management, cost management, planning, urban design, architecture, land information, valuations, and software service. There's a mouthful, and I'm sure they're thinking about all of this, plus all the other disciplines that I actually haven't talked about. You can imagine that our people go pretty wide in discipline and knowledge. Beca operates from 3 key market hubs, New Zealand, Australia, and Singapore, with other offices throughout the Asia Pacific. And we have a team of over 4,000 people, professionals striving for excellence in client satisfaction. And that comes across very strongly in the way that people interact with each other and also how they present themselves in front of the customer. We have long-lasting relationships across those countries and over 100 years of history in New Zealand. So one of the things that really stood out for me when I started at Beca was how committed and inclusive people were. And it might be their ethos and the fact that it's employee-owned. I think that plays a massive, makes a big difference there. But the buy-in here is quite different. That said, also comes with its own sets of challenge. So we can talk about it. Here are some of the projects that we're obviously across many, many more. But apart from building things, Beca has a strong software team as well, and digital focus. We embarked on the digital transformation journey maybe around 3 years ago, with our aim to improve ourselves and our use of digital, but also to change how we service our clients. So we often now lead with digital first. We also invested on a new ventures and innovations team. And from that, a range of products were created, and they are now in the market and they're successful. So I'm sharing this because it's a completely probably different side to what people might have imagined this engineering business to be like. With me so far?
So can I just point out, because we do want an interactive session, so I'm going to pop myself off mute to say, amazing, Marina Bay Sands, what an awesome hotel to know that you're, have been part of it. Nice one.
I think that's one of the cool things about being working for this business is often we will visit places or we'll drive past places and we go, oh, we built that, we did that, we maintained the, that. So it's pretty cool.
I'd like to second that, because all those projects are awesome, and the diversity of the projects that your company's involved in is amazing.
Yes, we do have a Monday morning meeting, which is company-wide, and people come and tell and share some of the stories. I just realized I'm doing all of this without my glasses. I have to put my glasses on. Oh, I can see you now. And when I first started, I used to be completely mind blown with all the different things that we do. We work in defense and we build software for rockets, and we're building bridges and stadiums. So it's super wide, which is really exciting, but also it creates, keeps us on our toes and how we approach all of those different people and different, ways to solve problems. Plus, working with a lot of engineers. All right, so I thought I'd share this here because actually we talk a lot about our purpose and our vision. So our vision is creative people together transforming the world, and our agile Beca purpose is to make every day better by enabling our people and our customers to adapt and thrive in an ever-changing world. So I'm going to talk about the why, and I imagine in this call we all know that the world is changing really fast. And so for us at Beca, the need to adapt becomes a really obvious thing when we engage with our communities, when we help our clients to build that future, to understand and help imagine what the cities might be like, in the future. How will people move? How will they navigate? How will they use technology? How do we navigate big events, big natural events that are, growing in frequency, for example, right now? And we now also have a huge focus on sustainability. And that just doesn't mean just materials, but also the need to build new versus the need to repurpose what we've built. So, repurpose infrastructure. That's significant change in the way we think and solve problems and build for the future. So there's so much change coming, and Beca helps design and create change. And we need to be able to adapt, and we need to be able to move fast and stay relevant. And related to that, we also need to understand how to evolve our services. Because we are a professional services business and our people are our assets. So there's a need to continue to evolve how we service, how we listen to, how we support our clients, but also how do we prepare for the future workforce, our future backup people and clients. All of those are changing. So we need to be aware and able to respond. That's our why. So for agility at Beca, I'll share a little bit about the intent. We have a strategy with a 3-year horizon around outcomes. And our intent is to create and enable agility through an agile mindset and ways of working. And look at how we organize ourselves, how we deliver, manage work, how we function in teams, and by connecting with the customer in a different way, not just from the point of view of being an expert, but actually listening to their needs. Sometimes needs they can't really articulate well, so there's different ways to approach that, and so that we deliver more value rather than just a quick solution and problem solving. And I think this is a big shift in professional services regardless. And because Beca is well established and successful in delivering projects, and we don't aim to turn it upside down and push that change, there is no mandate for capital A, capital T transformation. Instead, we're opting for a pull model where parts of our business can engage with us, where we create awareness, we share knowledge, and we get invited into the teams and the business lines who are ready to explore an agile mindset, behaviors, a different way of working. So that's what we're doing. So we have pretty ambitious goals, but we're definitely thinking big and starting small. Beca started this journey about 4 years ago with the guidance and support of an external consultant, bless them. And an Agile at Beca strategy was created then and approved by the board. So to help that strategy come to life, the BTO, the Business Transformation Office, my team, went to market to find me. And then when I started, I went to market to build my small but perfectly formed team. Which better be here today, otherwise there'll be big trouble. So this is the team. We're now 4 people fully dedicated to ways of working, but we have another 10 people in the BTO with skills to support our goals. So these people will come and support us when we need, and we need them often. So luckily, we're obviously very good at asking for favors, but also people believe in what we're doing, which is awesome. 18 months ago, when we kicked off with the whole team on board, our first challenge really was to go and open those first few doors. What is this agile thing and what are you guys doing here? So we decided to do that with lots of conversation, lots and lots of conversations around the business. And that was one of the first things actually I got told when I started at Beca, that the most important thing that you can do here is network and actually start to meet people, because we are a matrix organization and those relationships are super important. So we kicked off with good conversations to understand where people were, what was slowing them down, what are the key challenges that we had as a business. And the other part of what we've done was a lot of training. So capability uplift was really our first focus. And for that, we created an introduction to Scrum introduction to Agile online course, because we obviously kicked off just the back of a lockdown, yet another one. And then after that, we created a introduction to Scrum course. So there was no push from the business so that people came. They came because they were curious. They're curious to find better ways of working, to find better ways to deliver work, to work as a team.
So can I ask a question, Bela?
Yes.
What techniques did you use to create that awareness? Like, were there, like, how did you create a little bit of that pull or create a buzz, or what was it? How did you foster that curiosity?
It's a good question. We internal marketing, I guess, was one of them. So first we had a few conversations with some key leaders and try to get them to encourage their people to come to our courses or to come and have a conversation with us. But then we started to advertise on the intranet and put in little articles and see if people would come, and then hoping for word of mouth that would just grow. Yeah, I will cover a bit more of that actually. So our journey so far. So we have now, in this year and a bit, trained over 500 people in the introduction to Agile without their mandate, just opting in. A part of that, about 200 of those people were part of an empowerment program that we did with our intermediates at work. So that they got asked things, what would they like to learn about? And one of the key things they liked to learn about was Agile, which was great. So there was an appetite for a number of people in the business to go and learn. We have put through 150 people through the Scrum in our course. We kicked off a community of practice pilot a year ago, and that community meets roughly around every 3 weeks, and we cover a really wide range of topics. So our hypothesis was that by creating this environment, we would encourage people to come and learn together and expand their learning and kind of hopefully bring into context and share some of that. And we wanted people to feel like they could discuss different topics and grow together, space that didn't exist elsewhere. And now we have 90 members from all over Beca, including Australia as well. And people take turns in presenting. So I think that's been really, really successful. At the end of last year, we decided to run an open space that we themed around Better and a Safer book. And we invited our Beca people and coaches from 2 other organizations in New Zealand, where we took some time to go around the chapters and have a really good discussion, open space around, the key things around each chapter. And that was really successful. We received great feedback, a request to partner in other ways. And one of them was a partnership with one of our major clients. So we decided to actually meet often and share our learnings, and we have really similar environments, and it's been really, really fruitful. We also run a series of many workshops around the business where we help our corporate and our client-facing teams to plan, to bring strategy to life, and to build teams. Our intent is to open those doors, and then the door becomes an opportunity for ongoing coaching and opportunities where we can actually go a lot deeper and understand specific challenges that a part of the business might have, and how might we help them with that. And there are really wide range of challenges. So it could be how we deliver, it could be team dynamics, it could be prioritization, it could be a shift in understanding what that future vision needs, for example, and then how do you achieve that? So bringing strategy to life as well. We do coach a number of Agile teams. We Scrum Master a few of digital Scrum teams and new pilot teams for the business as well, who are hoping to or willing to use Scrum to achieve outcomes. We also support our corporate projects, and we work across the entire enterprise coaching our leaders. So we do quite a lot really for people, actually. All right, so how do we measure success? And I think that's the golden question, the one that all the Agile teams, all the Agile coaches and teams that I work out in the business are trying to answer. And the start of many debates, heated debates. Hopefully we're not going to have a heated debate here today, but I'll just tell you what we're doing at this point, and we're hoping to continue to iterate. So on the Agile teams that we work with who are using Scrum, we have a number of metrics that help us. Those are those traditional metrics and measures that we use, like cycle time, velocity, burn down charts, backlog health, sustainable pace, delivery. But most of our teams obviously aren't Scrum teams. So we're measuring a number of other things to kind of guide us. So we measure, our team measures the number of people who are interested in opting in to come into our training. We also started to track how many sign up for it and how many actually show up, because that is an indicator. There's a lot of training that goes on at Beca, a lot. And people are very thirsty for knowledge, and some of the disciplines require a certain level of yearly and ongoing learning anyway. So it's a really competitive environment. So what we learned is to work really hard to keep it making it interesting to people. So they recommend it to their team, so they want to come to the next training, so they join the community of practice. It kind of keeps us on our toes, because if we don't, they won't come. We track the number of people obviously signing up to that community of practice. You know, that's kind of showing us continued interest in the subject and what we're talking about. And we learned that the topic makes a huge difference in the types of people that we get across those 90. We have those who come to all the sessions, and we have those who come depending on the focus of the work. So we have a lot of project managers in the business, and they often come when we're sharing specific tools, when we're talking about Scrum or Kanban, anything that can help them deliver in a different way, they're open to it. And also how to, organize teams and strive for high performance teams and things like that. Or we have other people in the business who might be trying to solve an early problem, and they might be coming to look at design thinking workshop that we might, or change workshop that we might run. So we measure also the number of requests we get for help in ways of working. We have a backlog of work, and we can see that those requests have been growing quarter on quarter. And we learned that most teams, it's important to plan to deliver the strategic work and leave space for the requests for help that come along the way. We also learned this month that although we teach people how to do that, sometimes we overcommit, and we're definitely drowning in June. So that was a big wake-up call for us. It's a good problem to have, but it is a problem we have right now because we didn't say no. So a good reminder to drink our own champagne, as my friend Lizzie says. From the ongoing engagements that we might have with different parts of the business, we measure the feedback, the satisfaction, ongoing work with leaders, like the opportunity to keep working with specific areas. So the opportunity to do so, I suppose. Seeing how many new approaches change. So sorry, how our new approaches change how they plan, how they deliver work, how they might collaborate between their teams, but also with other teams, understanding and the dependencies and being able to actually bring strategy to life. So all of those things we can actually measure. They're indicators for us. So lots of leading and lagging indicators. And obviously the key thing to keep in mind is the so what. So what is the impact of all of this? And we learned that thinking about that keeps us focused on outcomes. So when we're planning for the quarter, we are super focused on the outcome we want to see, and we zoom in on that. And we have conversations around it with our stakeholders and our internal clients as well. So challenges. Some of the challenges we hear are we can't say no to work. It's how our business survives. We are selling time and people, so productivity is a focus. Our people are assets, and so the main challenge here is that people are busy and they're already working at capacity, and on top of their engineering skills, they now need to develop a whole range of other skills to remain relevant. But how do you create that space to grow and learn when you're already working at capacity? So people want to do well, but they don't want to say no. They might not feel comfortable saying no. They definitely don't want to say no to their clients. And I know this is happening across all industries. So now the work moves for us into the role modeling of those leaders to prioritize in being able to visualize that work, to understand the links to strategy, how does it link? And to be able to actually articulate that is super important. There are many inputs to prioritizing. In our world, it might not just be as simple as value versus effort. There might be a contract in there, the cost of not doing, dealings with a third party and hundreds of stakeholders in a project, for example. So many layers of dependencies that haven't even been uncovered of. They're just an assumption. And different parts of the business might be competing for the same talent. So that's a key challenge that we've got as well. So we're growing our area of impact, I guess, and influence. The differences that we make to the business, how the business responds is awesome to see. And And it gives me hope, I suppose. The trust will be given, often people will come and ask for help and give us full trust to go and reach the outcomes they want. Because of course, all of this sounds really lovely, but we're actually going out there and creating tension. We're asking really hard questions. We're getting people to do stuff they don't want to do, change their mindsets, possibly change their behaviors in the way that we've always done it. And it served me right up until now, so why should I? So we have learned to listen and to really connect with our people so we can help them in a meaningful way without pushing a cookie cutter approach. I mean, it costs time. It is not easily scalable, but it's making a difference for us now. But I just want to note one thing, though, that I think is important to know about this pull model is that without that mandate, you really need to find ways to make people understand what you do, to understand the why. And often it takes many conversations and a few engagements for people to start to really get it. Particularly in a business that is so used to waterfall and projects and a certain way of planning and delivering work. So changing those mindsets and behaviors might happen beautifully in some parts and not so much in others. I'm going to pause here and see if there's any questions or comments.
We've got a couple of questions in the chat, Bela. Maria's asking, how do you prioritize where the coaches spend their time and what factors do you use to make those priorities?
That's an awesome question. We do quarterly planning. We do a baby big room planning in our BTO where we look at the outcomes for the quarter that we're trying to contribute to and achieve and the link to the strategy. And then we have a solid backlog of work and so we use those things to help us prioritize. So we're looking at the strategy. There are some, for example, key strategic enterprise projects that we're running in our corporate business that are a must do for our corporate. So those things trump others, for example. So we'll prioritize them. We just have, for example. But apart from that, is a conversation aligning with our strategy. We have 3 horizons. So we're constantly looking, where are we now and what's the most important thing and to be engaging with and team to be engaging with? How do we split our time? As I mentioned before, we struggle with it as well, as in terms of we want to say yes to everything, especially because there's no mandate. We're trying to please everybody that is giving us an opportunity to go in and help. But we do need to be purposeful and sometimes say no. So this month we've had the opportunity to exercise that.
Thank you. Does that cover it, Maria?
It does, thank you.
Yeah, great, thanks. And a question from Gretel. How many of the executive team are regularly engaged with your team's activities? Good
question. It depends. Our executive team is super focused on something else right now, but this strategy was approved by the board, and with that it was a must do last year. So there was a lot of engagement and push for this last year and a lot of conversations around it, also paving the road for us to go and have an interaction with different parts of the business and sort of enabling us to do that. But as always with these things, there's definitely opportunity for more engagement and more visibility, constant.
Thanks, Bela. I'm wondering too. You talked about the great diversity of different kinds of projects that are performed at Beca. Are there any particular projects that seem to be more interested in engaging with you than others?
The client-facing ones, I guess. So we do have parts of the business that have been experimenting with Agile. Independent of us, they started their own journey and now we kind of collaborate. In those parts of the business where we have a good story to tell are interested. Parts of the business that are trying to create something new are interested. There's a lot of different parts of the business that are interested, but in terms of projects, it's mostly the client-facing projects that are starting to shift to the way they think and think, okay, how can we incorporate some of this thinking and ways of working and mindsets into what we normally do? And I think that's where we might see the biggest shift. Instead of running this as an agile project or whatever that means, is how do we bring some of this thinking into what we do every day? And that's what we're starting to see. So really different levels of adoption, if that makes sense. You know, bringing some aspects of Scrum, bringing some of this thinking, creating a psychologically safe environment. Those elements are starting to come in, but also the ability to plan just in time and iterate. There's now a push for some, a need from some of our clients that they want to be able to move fast. And so we need to kind of shift some of the mentality of perfection and having to do things a certain way and gold-plated, and to how might we bring this progress over perfection into the reality of the work that we do.
Thank
And
you.
I have a question that's related to this topic. I think this is fascinating because I know a lot of companies, they're trying to be agile internally. At the same time, they also work with like customers, partners, suppliers, vendors, and all that. And a lot of times, like their processes or their mindset doesn't actually allow us to work in an agile fashion. So what are some of the ways that you have used that's effective in influencing them to get on to make sure that we all benefit from this?
You mean in the corporate space or across the board in the business?
Yeah, across the board. For example, like in engineering, a lot of the project will be somewhat waterfall, or maybe we need to kind of work with suppliers who are used to make, large procurements happening. So how can we actually influencing some of those thinking?
There's a lot. I think there's lots of different ways. Obviously, we have a lot of conversations, but one of the avenues that have helped us lately is running some workshops for a particular business line or group, and getting in through that workshop, getting them to challenge the way they solve a problem or they think about something. So that could be through design thinking or actually bringing an element of the customer view, but also connect to what their future might look like and make it really, really obvious that if we don't shift some of the things that we do, we're not going to get there probably. So actually getting people to experience that and then connect with how do I bring this stuff to life. Once they connect with the why is this important for us to shift? I think the why is the most important thing. We do have some enablers, and I'll talk to them about them later. But I think that expectation from the market and our clients is something that we've got in our favor. So as long as we can articulate and remind people and connect people to that, they might be curious.
So maybe just an extension question on that one. So how, with the Agile intro and the Scrum training, like how are you balancing or managing the flex of the framework to then apply to the context? Is that then through workshops and coaching, or how, because one size does not fit all. So how are you working through those dynamics?
So the introduction to Agile, we do explain frameworks, but we're really focusing more on being Agile. And we do cover the modern Agile values on that as well. And we go quite deep into that because we want people to start putting things into context. Obviously with this, because we don't have a mandate, we don't have 300, Scrum teams. It's all about how do I bring this into my context now? What can I own within my team to be able to shift some of those mindsets? This is an environment that I would like to work in, yes. And then so how might I achieve that in my team? What part of it can I own or build an environment where that's possible? Obviously, that's from the bottom up, and then we're working with leaders to allow for that to happen. Because as a strategy, this alone I don't think works. You kind of have to go across as well. With the Scrum, we do have a few Scrum teams, and they are Scrum teams. Like we are faithful to the framework. We don't call the other teams Scrum teams, but we might bring elements that might help people, really focusing on what problem we're trying to solve for each one of those teams. But with the introduction to Agile course, we try to give people a view of how things could be. What are the things they could be doing, what makes a difference? And then so they pick a couple of things they might connect with and go and experiment with that.
Yep, makes sense. Thank you.
Cool, pleasure. All right, I will keep going. All right, so we're going really well. We're achieving all our main goals from our quarterly planning that we do as always a working team. And although our team is pretty amazing, we would have a lot less impact if we didn't have all the enablers around the business. So in this environment, we are counting on a lot of people to help us with this shift. It's not necessarily planned, it's something that there's obviously a natural move towards all of those things. So we're not doing this in isolation. We hold the Agile at Beca strategy, but there are other teams contributing to this, like our new ventures team, who's carving up space for leading innovation. We have our largest business line in New Zealand, transport in infrastructure, really leaning in and spending, quite a lot of time giving us a lot of space to be able to go and do things with their leaders. We have our advisory group, really curious and leading some of that change, which is really exciting. I can't list them all, but there's quite a lot of different parts of the business that are contributing to get a bit of momentum on this shift. We also have a future fit strategy, which is a group strategy at Beca. And so our work massively contributes to that. And I believe it's key to bringing it to life. Obviously, we have that digital transformation I talked about and all the changes that come from that, all the conversations that are happening around that, plus the work that we do with the digital teams that enable us to have a few good stories to tell and actually start putting things into context as well. The P&C team at Beca is super focused on learning and development as well as improving our leadership. And of course, we have the board buy-in and our strategy last year was a must-do for the corporate business. And I guess most importantly, our clients' journey. So their own journey means that, I mean the businesses, but I also mean the communities and the agencies around us. And their desire for better actually drives ours. So I think that's a huge force guiding us too. We're hearing from them that they want different, they expect different. So what does the future hold? Obviously, this is the new journey, as I said, and we don't have a mandate, but we do have lots of beautiful goals. And there's definitely an appetite to evolve from that client-facing people as they interact with our clients and seeing that those expectations are actually changing really fast and the environment around is changing really fast, not just people. So we help them understand what are the most important things to shift in areas, and we break that down and we actually go and work with them. So our future is definitely focusing on that. Beca also has a really strong grads program, and often those people actually progress to a full-time career with us. And so I've had the privilege to observe our senior leaders who have been here for 15, 20, sometimes 40 years, and the new people coming in, and the future of Beca. And I think in a business like ours, it is key to understand these two groups and how they interact, how they learn from each other, and how they build what that future might look like with all of this in mind. So I noticed that the young people are open to an agile mindset. They're open to testing, failing. They are confident to share their thoughts. They are really hungry to learn, and they want more from the work environment. And they want a voice now. They don't want to wait 10 years. They want a voice now. So I think there's lots of opportunities for improvement for us. And as we talked about diversity, we are across so many areas, disciplines, countries, cities. So we have immense diversity of thought and innovation potential. So the future for us to continue to invest on people, how they work, how they solve their problems, how they interact with their clients, how they develop an agile mindset, which allows hopefully for flexibility and innovation. All of that with a nuance that obviously engineering being an exact discipline in science. So there are certain things where we can't fail. Not fast, not slow, it just needs to be done right. And we talk a lot about modern agile values and safety being a prerequisite. So from there, having that clarity around what is absolutely non-negotiable and needs to be right, and what is flexible, where we can actually test and learn and find different avenues and paths and ways to solve a problem. So the future for us is we hopefully bring more people on this journey, continue buying from our leaders and energy and openness to evolve from our people, all of our people, including our leaders, and being able to take our clients on that journey with us as well. We're going to continue to have an iterative approach to our working plan as well, because we're learning along the way and we're testing and seeing what lands and what doesn't. So we often end up often that I've seen, that I've noticed, we end up delivering agile in a really waterfall way. We're trying to be really careful not to do that and actually be agile in the way that we deliver or we do this in our approach and we learn. So trying to remove any arrogance and assumptions. I know it's hard, but we're trying to stay honest. It's not easy. It's not a given, but we really believe that it is worth the effort here and the energy. We believe that we can continue to grow and learn together to support Beca people and our clients in the future vision. We're going for it, and we're going to hope that people can come along. That's it. Thank you.